Hello everyone and welcome back to Expedition Sunday, and today is a very special Expedition Sunday because we are reaching back into the archives and looking over some of the old footage I have from the trip that my parents and I took to Ocracoke Island last October, so October of 2014. And it was absolutely amazing. It was everything my mother wanted, and that made my father and I so happy. It was the very first vacation that my parents had been on for their entire married lives, and I was very lucky that they wanted to share it with me. And my mother is a huge lover of the ocean. Just the sight of the waves rolling in again and again across the beach is something that puts her heart at more peace than anything else in the world does. I imagine how she feels looking out at the waves is how I feel when I'm out deep in the forest, surrounded by trees and wildlife and ferns and mountains. The ocean here on Ocracoke Beach is kind of the exact opposite of that sense of being utterly surrounded by forest on all sides. But I had a wonderful time going out there, and when I was thinking about putting together today's Expedition Sunday, I just really wanted to look back over the footage that I managed to snag when we were out on the island, and it was such a wonderful experience and kind of holds the heart of what Expedition Sunday is all about, reminding all of us to get out there and to explore what is around, to really try to see what might be hiding out just behind a bush or nearby, to make the effort to go somewhere, to look outside, to adventure. And that's what Expedition Sunday is about, is reminding you that you don't have to pack up and go on a huge vacation to be able to see amazing wildlife, beautiful sights, just have a good time, gain new experiences. But if you do want to pack up and go on an adventure, like we did to Ocracoke Island, then the results can be absolutely spectacular. Ocracoke Island is a very small island. It is not very big. You can drive from one end to the other in probably half an hour at most, going at the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. So you can go across it pretty quickly. But it is very beautiful, very underdeveloped, lots of just natural habitats that have been untouched. The island is the construction on the island for the buildings and the rental spots, the inns, the restaurants is restricted to a very small zone. So there's miles of untouched beach where all you see, every direction that you look, is the ocean, is the low-lying grasses that grow up the sand dunes, the twisted old oak trees that are barely as tall as I am because the winds from the ocean just twist them down and make them hug the ground. And I saw so much wildlife, and it has been so much fun to share that with you in many of the previous vlogs that we have in our vlog playlist and in our Specimen Saturday list. I've shared a lot of the little creatures that we've found, like the amazing little tree frogs that were in the outhouse of all places, and the anole lizards that were all over the fencing up along the boardwalk, and all of the tiny little itty-bitty ghost crabs that were so small, just about as the size of a quarter, who had their very intricate little houses where you could see where they had their itty-bitty little feet that had zipped all around their tiny entrance into their little hole in the sand that was their home. And all of the sandpipers. It was so much fun to watch the sandpipers run up and down along the beach. They never got close enough for me to be able to get really good footage to share with you guys, but I just loved watching them and watching their itty-bitty chicks follow them around and flutter off, their little fledgling chicks flutter off after the flocks. And oh, it was so fantastic to walk out on the beach every single day. We went out there for hours and hours and hours. That's the only place my mother wanted to be, was out on the beach watching the waves and collecting the many seashells that you can find on Ocracoke. Ocracoke's Cape Hatteras seashore is considered to be one of the best shelling spots in the entire United States, and it actually ranked #1 beach for shelling in 2007, and has pretty much remained in the top 10 for shelling, which means to collect seashells, in the United States ever since then. So when my mother learned that I had moved so close to the islands, she immediately came out and we went on this awesome vacation and collected so many seashells, many of which you guys have seen in previous Specimen Saturdays. And I loved it. But remember, when you collect seashells, you always want to make sure that no one's living inside of them. You want to leave as many as possible behind because they still are important, vital parts of the natural ecosystem of the beach. And I love this beach because they really defended it from having any boats or any like bikes or jeeps or anything with wheels anywhere near the coast or up along the beach, which meant that the very fragile little homes that the tiny little ghost crabs made were just fine, and which meant that the pipers, the sandpipers, often only make a small indention into the sand to lay their eggs. So you often won't see their nest until it's too late and you might accidentally drive over it or step on it. So it's great to know that Ocracoke Island takes such good care of its beautiful wildlife. The people were exceptionally friendly, and it was just such an experience to go out and find something new every single day. One day, the first day we were there, we actually went out just in time to see a huge pod of dolphins pass far off the coast. We could just barely make them out jumping through the water, and it was a wonderful experience. And that's what I mean by these expedition Saturdays or Sundays, and sharing them with you guys. Even if it's just tiny snippets of what I've seen, those little snippets might encourage you and inspire you to go out and go find your own adventures, to get behind the camera if that helps you the way it helps me, and share it with everybody so that you can share the wonders of your world, even if you might seem to think, oh, I've seen these things every single day. Hopefully sharing it with others will give you the opportunity to feel like it's still the special, unique, beautiful thing that it is. But I cannot wait to go on more adventures and to share them with all of you. And I hope that you've enjoyed just this little peek at Ocracoke Island. I still have some awesome footage from there to share with you, such as the Ocracoke horses, the ponies, depending on who you talk to, who are an entirely unique species that live just on Ocracoke Island. And we will be looking over the footage that I got from them, and I will be telling you about them and their very exclusive numbers. So they're very low in number, and they're only on Ocracoke. It's quite fascinating. They're a wild group of horses. So some of the only wild horses left in the United States are here on this tiny little island. A very unique little species that has gained some unusual genetic traits from so many generations of living isolated on the islands. And there's so much history with Blackbeard and pirates and so many other things that can be found just on this tiny little strip of land. So in the future, I will be sure to snag even more video and to really try to find people who can tell me about the old myths and the history of the islands. And I hope to do that with everywhere that we go. So go out there, adventure, go find something fun to pay attention to, and remember, you guys, stay curious. Bye-bye!